Wheels.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm clicking the link and everything over here.
Now, when we weren't on the phone, I could see you and hear you, but you couldn't see or hear me.
So what does that mean?
I have no idea. Were you doing it from your phone?
Yeah, I'm doing it from my phone.
What kind of phone do you have?
I have a Samsung. I don't believe in the iPhone.
Neither do I. That might be the problem. Do you have a computer you could use?
I ain't using my computer.
Let's see if I don't know.
All right, hold on. Let me click the link again. Let's try that.
Okay, let me hang up then.
All right, I'm going to click the link.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye. Let's see. Call ended. Okay.
Opie.
Yeah.
Opie.
I could hear you there, Wheels.
You can't see me, though.
Who wants to see you?
Nobody, really. Well, as long as you can hear me, that's all that really matters. Can you do me one favor, though?
What?
We're getting big. I'm getting a lot of glare from the windows behind you. Is there any way you can close like one of those?
I ain't closing the windows. What do you want from me? How about that?
That's better.
All right.
That's better.
I was trying to hide my my stay-at-home look.
I like it, bud.
I haven't had a haircut in I don't know, 4 or 5 months. My hair's never been longer. I finally shaved my Santa Claus beard. Huh?
I'm going to go live right now, and then we can talk about all that.
I'm already live.
Oh, well, I'm not on this end. I don't know why it says you're live. We're going live right now.
All right.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Listen, I am so excited to welcome in my next guest to Wednesdays with Wheels. You know him if you're a fan of the Brother Wease show. You also know him from Opie and Anthony. And what I have to say is what I believe to be the gold standard in podcasting, the Opie Radio podcast. Opie, how are you?
I'm good there, Wheels. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
So this is like my 10th podcast.
Okay.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new, but this is the first time that I'm kind of nervous and maybe a little bit of a fanboy here, Opie, because I've been listening to you for so long in many different forms that this is really big for me. So thank you for doing this.
Well, let me help you out. You should be very nervous. I'm a big deal there, Wheels.
You are a big deal. I love the views of the beach, and if there's one thing that Opie gives you, he gives you the truth.
Wow, I like that.
Right? You do. You don't pull any punches, my friend.
No, I don't. I'm really mad right now, matter of fact, because I decided that I was going to have a little beer with Wheels Maxwell, and I went to my fridge, and I grabbed the damn Sam Adams Summer Ale. And I don't support Sam Adams anymore, so now I'm in a bad mood because of that. Do you get action, even though you're in a chair? Let's get into this a little bit.
I do, Hope. I get action.
Nice.
Everything. You know, that's a common misconception.
Yeah.
That people have, that just because you're in a wheelchair, the plumbing doesn't work.
Oh, no, man. You guys still get stiffies. I know that from that documentary. Yeah. What was the documentary? Murder Ball? Murder Ball.
But I know you're a big documentary guy. Have you seen the new documentary?
Which one?
That you would absolutely love? Called Crip Camp?
Crip Camp. I heard about that.
Brother Wease turned me on to this. And it's so funny because he called me up on the phone,
Yeah.
And he says, bro, I don't want to upset you. And I'm thinking, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh boy, what did I do? He's going to tell me I can't do the show on Friday. I did something.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, I don't want to upset you, but, Sammy Davis and I are sitting down and we're watching this documentary by Barack and Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
And it's called Crip Camp, and it's about people in wheelchairs. But Wheels, they're way worse than you are.
That's my boy. That's Wease.
Yeah. Oh, you just mentioned a little while ago, or just a few minutes ago, that when you were back in Rochester, how long has it been since you were an intern in Rochester and
Well,
spending some of your time there?
I was never an intern at that other radio station. I think it used to be called the home of rock and roll. Rochester's home of rock and roll. No, it was my second professional radio job.
You and I have one of our best friends is Brother Wease.
Yeah.
Brother Wease has changed my life in so many ways.
Yeah.
Opened so many doors for me. Take us back to that if you remember that first couple of days you worked with Brother Wease, and what were your impressions of him, and what do you remember about that?
Brother Wease is like a god to me. He's a mentor, one of my best friends. He's a brother. He's a father figure. He's all those things to me. And basically, I was in Geneseo, actually, going to college. And I was doing college radio. And somebody in my fraternity house had Brother Wease on. He was just starting his radio career around then, somewhere around 85, I think. And I heard this terrible voice coming from a room from the fraternity house. And right away, I'm like, who the hell is that? Because back then, you had to have a really good voice to be on the radio. And we certainly did not have the very good voice. But what he was saying was absolutely amazing and fascinating and interesting and funny and thought-provoking. And so fast forward, I get a job in Geneva, New York, just a little part-time job. I was doing radio on the weekends. And then I got a chance to get a job at CMF as a assistant promotional guy. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is the radio station where that guy with the really weird voice works. And we became instant pals. And I was not worthy to be on the radio with Brother Wease back then, certainly. But he would give me mic time, and he would allow me to hang out and just be part of the whole show, which I cherish to this day. And him and Sam Kinison completely changed my life because I realized I was doing radio wrong when I heard Wease just being himself and Sam Kinison just taking it to the edge and being himself and then kind of jumping over the edge, matter of fact. I threw everything I knew away from what I learned in college and up to that point, and I decided to finally start being myself on the radio.
But I think that you, along with Wease, and you said you learned from Wease, but you have a great knack for just taking maybe someone that no one knows and turning them into realizing they have a talent and giving them a microphone and giving them a platform. Do you have any good Chef Carl stories that you could tell us? Because one of the people that you brought onto the radio and sort of made, he already had a career as a very successful chef and on the Food Network, but you introduced him to a whole new audience.
Right. Man. Yeah, thanks for mentioning Carl. Now I'm going to start crying there, Wheels. What are you trying to do? Are you like a Barbara Walters? I thought we were going to have some fun and drink a beer together.
We're going to get there, but listen, I love Carl. Carl was a great guy.
Well,
so funny. So I just thought maybe you could share a couple stories.
All right, no problem. So Carl was a street guy, just naturally funny. He could have easily been a stand-up comic. He could have easily been one of the greats of radio. We had a friendship first, and we had incredible chemistry on our radio show when I was still at SiriusXM, and then we moved it into the podcast form. The thing I love about Carl, he was always living in the moment. He was always funny. He was always enjoying his life. I never saw the guy sad. And he went through a lot of crap at the end of his life, including an ugly divorce. But what I loved was just walking the streets with Carl and making him incredibly uncomfortable, which amazed me because he was such a street guy. But when I started messing with people, he would pull on my sleeve and try to get me out of the situation, and that would just make me want to do it more to make him even more uncomfortable. To this day, I think of those moments and I just laugh my ass off. In Nantucket, we were just wandering around the streets really, really drunk. And I decided, he decided we all needed Nantucket hoodies. And we went into a store And he begged me outside the store not to carry on and make a scene. And I'm like, God, Carl, of course I won't. And then, of course, as soon as I got into the place, I just started announcing that we were there and taking over the store and just being loud and obnoxious. And Carl was laughing his ass off to the point he couldn't breathe, but he also was so uncomfortable and so embarrassed, and he just wanted us out of the store. And he quickly bought everyone's hoodies and dragged me out of there. So those are the moments. Okay, why don't you talk then? Yes.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, Ope?
I was just going to say those are the moments I cherish.
The first time I met Chef Carl, it's funny because I was listening to your podcast and you were waiting at the door for Billy to answer the door.
Yeah.
And he said, it must have been the second time I met him. But he said to you on the air as I'm listening to that, and I laughed my ass off about this.
Yeah.
He said, that wheel scares me.
I don't know why, man. You're very lovable.
I mean, maybe he was afraid I was going to run over his big toe or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he had terrible feet. That's one thing about Carl. He had horrendous feet. So maybe that was it, that you were going to run over his toes.
Where are you right now? Are you at the beach house?
I got a place where I get to, hang out and just chill out and go fishing and stay as far away from the coronavirus as possible. Yes.
Well, can we talk about the coronavirus for just a few minutes?
Yeah, you don't believe it, do you, Wheels?
No, I'm with you. I'm a believer.
Of course.
I'm a mask wearer and I'm a believer. But,
so that means you're a snowflake libtard, you and your mask. How dare you?
Me and my mask. Right? Here's what I don't understand, and let's talk about this for a little bit. How hard is it to put on a mask, Opie?
Well, it's not hard, and I said this from day one. I pretty much said on my podcast, please, let's not make the mask political. And sure enough, we did that until recently. Even the turtle, Mitch McConnell, is telling everyone to wear a mask. So finally, we're all getting on the same page. I just hope it's not too late. But to make the mask political is completely ridiculous. The fact is, this is a really scary thing. We're looking at 130,000 Americans have died from this thing. And, we got to try to keep everyone safe. And most of the scientists and the doctors, 9 out of 10 anyway, you'll always find one doctor, one scientist that'll tell you something like, no, smoking's actually really good for you. But the majority of doctors and scientists are basically saying, look, the mask will save people's lives. And that's all we should worry about. And then all that other political stuff, sure, let's fight it out. But let's at least agree that the mask is important as we try to get through this pandemic.
If we're not supposed to listen to the doctors, who are we supposed to listen to?
Well, obviously the politicians, they know way more about this stuff. So, of course, we got to listen to either Trump or Biden. They know best.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, people will listen to either Fox News or MSNBC because it validates what they're thinking, right? So you listen to whichever station validates your opinion.
Yeah, of
and
course.
People don't think for themselves.
Right.
Did you see this latest story? And I'm interested to get your take on this. Did you see John Elway came out the other day and said any of his players that kneel during the national anthem, he's going to fire on the spot?
Really? Wow. I did not see that story, to be honest with you.
It's the most ridiculous thing to me in the world, because you're telling me that if a guy like, I don't know, Von Miller, who's a big player for the Denver Broncos, decides to take a knee, you're going to tell the top player that you're paying on your team, sorry, we no longer need your services?
Well, John Elway's always been stupid there, Wheels. And because he said that, he's going to now have most of his team kneeling. I mean, how dumb can you be? The team's not going to take that. They're in solidarity. They're all going to now kneel to shove it up Elway's, horse's ass.
Just seems a little outrageous to me. Think of the Buffalo Bills. And if we told Josh Allen he couldn't play for us because he decided to take a knee, Buffalo would be in an uproar.
Well, this will be a bit controversial, but I think you could support your country and also kneel. Believe it or not. I think those two things are possible. But there's a lot of people, as soon as you kneel, you're not a patriot, you don't believe in this country, you don't blah, 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 blah. And I really do believe that you could be an American, believe in what this country's all about, and also take a kneel for some things that you believe need to change.
Thank you so much, Opie, for saying that, because my argument to people is this. They're not disrespecting America.
Right.
The reason they're doing it during the national anthem is because that's when everybody's eyeballs are on them.
Right. But we live in a country where it's all or nothing, unfortunately. We live in a country that there's no real debate anymore. We live in a country where people have their talking points, and it's not even their own talking points. They get it from Facebook or the cable news channel they're watching. And then they're just waiting for you to stop talking so they could shove their points right back at you, because their survival depends on it for them to be right. No one wants to be wrong in this country whatsoever.
That's what's missing in this country, right? The ability to have a conversation and actually see somebody else's point of view.
Yeah. I mean, when was the last time you actually heard someone say, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. Huh, interesting." It's more,
it never
you don't
happened.
know what the fuck you're talking about, you libtard. Die. It's like, die? Really? And I say this all the time. It's a theme on my podcast. We're doing it all wrong, no matter what side you're on, because both sides want the other side to think exactly like how they think. So basically, you're looking at 50% of the country is trying to change the minds of the other 50% of the country. It's never going to happen, and we just waste our time trying to do that.
That's why I try to stay off of social media with arguments about politics, because it's just ends up to be a circular argument, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you something. So you get action.
I get action.
Do they sit on the chair with you?
I'm pretty mobile. I get out of the chair and
I've seen you walk. I've seen you walk in Brother Wease's studio, but I'm just wondering if you ever had. Look, man, I've had some girls with some fetishes, so I'm wondering if you've ever had one that just was kind of fetishy and wanted to do some unusual things because you got a wheelchair.
I'm not going to lie that sometimes.
Yeah.
In very rare cases, the wheelchair has helped out.
Nice. Good for you, buddy.
My friends often say to me, you are in some ways the luckiest guy there is, because you automatically know if a girl likes you, because one of the first things she'll ask is, in a roundabout way, does everything work okay? Right.
Give me your deal in a minute or two. Why are you?
So I have cerebral palsy. So I was born premature.
Okay.
And my lungs weren't fully developed. I was breathing when I was born, but my lungs weren't fully developed.
Yeah.
In the transfer from one hospital to another, the machine, the incubator that they put me in to transfer me to the hospital stopped working. And that's what actually caused the lack of oxygen to my brain and ended up... had me end up like this.
Right. You don't feel sorry for yourself or anything, do you? Because you're.
In fact, I hate when people say, "Wheels, I'm so sorry. I feel bad for you." Or when I meet a girl and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry you're in a wheelchair."
Yeah.
Don't feel sorry for me. I've lived and I'm living the best life that I could live. You can't change it, so you just got to live with it, right?
100%.
Things happen in life, and you just got to deal with it.
100%. I got this ratty red hair. It's a fucking nightmare to walk around with it.
I will tell you, I was doing.
Sorry, I'm just such a dick sometimes. Sorry, I'm trying to be better.
I like.
And actually,
funny though.
And actually, it's strawberry blonde. But sorry. No, you're an inspiration for real. When I first met you. I was wondering what is this guy all about? Wease doesn't pull in charity cases whatsoever to be on the radio with him, man. You gotta perform, and you gotta hold your own. And man, the first time I saw you working on his show, I was like, damn, this guy Wheels is good. He's funny. He has a great laugh. He's entertaining. He's got great questions, and he adds to every conversation that was happening in the room. And I bowed to you, and I thought to myself, man, this guy is an inspiration. There's no doubt about it.
I struggle with that, Opie, because, and I understand it. I understand where it comes from, right? When people say, Wheels, you're an inspiration, and if you find inspiration from me, or if someone finds inspiration from me, that's phenomenal.
Right.
But I tell people all the time, I'm not like, people that are inspirational are people that are out there trying to like cure cancer, right? Or find a vaccine for the coronavirus.
Yeah, no, I understand. Let me throw this back at you. Like, obviously you don't want people to look at you differently because you spend a lot of time in a wheelchair. I understand that. But what I mean by inspiration is this. There are a lot of people that were born, quote, I'll say it that way, normal, and they can't even fucking get out of bed in the morning, and they got all sorts of issues and this and that. And then they see someone like you that is just thriving with their life. That's what I mean by being inspirational, Wheels. Nothing is holding you back. And there's so many people out there that they are like, oh, if only I had this, if only I had made more money, if only my wife was hotter, if only. And their life is passing them by. And that's why you're an inspiration, because I looked at you like, God, why am I complaining today? Are you kidding me? That's what I mean by that.
And thank you. And I will tell you, it's interesting that we're talking about this because one of Weeze's former producers, I was talking to him the other day.
Yeah.
And he said, because I did Paulie's podcast, and Paulie said, when Weeze first mentioned you, Wheels, the one thing he said about you was, here's a guy that should be so down on himself and so miserable about life, and he's not, and I need to bring him in on the radio. And you know, Ope, you've been in the business a long time. It's very rare that somebody has just given a microphone and said, here, we trust you enough to, to say whatever you want to say, and without throwing it off the rails.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now, so you were born with the CP, and so you're not paralyzed. So you feel everything all the way down to your toes, right?
I feel everything. And that's again, common misconception, right? Everybody thinks once you hear wheelchair that means you're paralyzed.
Right.
You know, I do a lot of online dating.
Nice.
Which is the worst thing in the world.
I feel sorry for anyone that's single.
I do all these dating apps, and I don't put in my profile that I'm in a wheelchair, because you could have a conception of what somebody is like in a wheelchair, and if I have that in my profile, you're going to pass me right by. Right.
So then how do you tell them?
Well, so there becomes the interesting part.
Yeah.
Opie, I don't wait long because I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want to waste their time.
Yeah.
So within the first couple messages, I'll tell them, and it's so interesting to me as a society, and it all goes back to how we think about, you said it earlier, quote unquote normal, right?
Yeah.
These girls, when they see my picture, they're telling me, oh, you're the hottest thing since sliced bread. And then as soon as I tell them I'm in a wheelchair, they run tail the other way.
Well, not all of them, Wheels. That's what I'm getting at.
And I always say to them, did you have a choice in what your mother named you?
Yeah.
So if your name's Christina, right, did you have a choice in what your mother named you? I didn't have a choice that I was going to end up in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, get to know me.
I once dated a girl that had a handicap.
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, I think I know.
Go ahead. Which one?
Did she have the smelly?
You went with it. You went with it. Yes, her handicap was a smelly vagina. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
That's why I love you. Oh my God. No, well, very good. But then I was reminded. I actually there was a girl that had one arm that I didn't even notice that she had one arm, and she worked for Bill O'Reilly. We were going to go on Bill O'Reilly. God, the no spin zone. Yeah, okay. And he was going to do a big piece on me and Anthony. So one of his producers came into the studio for, it had to be a couple weeks just doing background stuff. and filming B-roll and hanging out with us and, getting the whole thing set up for Bill O'Reilly. It was going to be a big piece for him. And she was in studio. And then after the show, she would go out to eat with us and she would go drinking with us. Anyway, me and Anthony are at Hooters. We're signing a magazine article that came out. And all of a sudden I look up. Beautiful girl. Beautiful. And actually she's, I can't say. Damn it, I can't say.
Say it.
No, because documentaries. She produced a very big documentary, and I couldn't believe when I found out that this was the same person. She moved on from Bill O'Reilly and has done some great things. But anyway, so she was attracted to me, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were signing magazines at Hooters, and I look up, and she's kind of in the distance, and at that moment, as we got a long line of fans, and we're all partying and stuff at Hooters, I noticed that she has a fake mannequin arm. I think it was her left arm with a bracelet on it, which I found really strange because why would you draw attention to that? I'm thinking. Anyway,
she had the prosthetic.
Long story short, I start telling my guys, including Anthony and everybody else, I'm like, look. And one by one, they noticed for the first time, even though she was hanging out with us for 2 weeks, she was in studio with the bright lights, that she had a fake arm, and we're like, oh my God, we'd be terrible witnesses in a court case. We had no idea. But then anyway, fast forward, I'm on a roof drinking with her in the West Village with a bunch of other guys, and I'm a faithful one there, Wheels, but I was getting a little weak. I'm not gonna lie to you. And she invited me down to her apartment. We were on the roof of this apartment, and I go into her apartment. And her roommates were cranking Pink Floyd and were really, really high. So I'm kind of talking to her roommates because she said, I'll be right back. And I'm just hanging with the roommates. All of a sudden, I hear a voice, Ope, come in here. I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. She's calling me into the kitchen or something. And I'm walking to his apartment, and I notice that she's calling me into the bathroom. And long story short, she's in the bathtub completely naked with her arm off. And she's begging me to go into the bathtub with her, Wheels. What would you have done?
Listen, I don't think one arm is as bad as a smelly vajayjay.
So how the story goes, it was more because I was with somebody, because I was very tempted. I'm not going to lie to you. My relationship wasn't that great. So I kind of pinch myself now like, God, you idiot. Because she was really, really hot. And I just started laughing at how ridiculous the situation was and walked out and started walking down the stairs of her apartment to get back on the street. And she's at the top of the stairs in a bathrobe, soaking wet, no arms, screaming and yelling at me, you son of a bitch. Because I guess I was laughing at her, but I was just so uncomfortable. And sadly, that was the last time I saw her. And fast forward, then I end up breaking up with my chick. And then I'm thinking, God, why didn't I? Because she was actually really, really cool, man. So
yeah, I have so I dated a girl that was an amputee, and we were at a bar in Lake Placid, New York, of all places.
Yeah,
and we were there for the Empire State Games.
Right.
And O-Town was the opening act at the opening ceremonies, Opie.
Yeah.
And so they happened to be at this bar, right? And the girl that I was seeing at the time convinced O-Town that she was an amputee because she got her leg bitten off by a shark.
Nice. Good for her.
And at first they didn't even believe she was an amputee, so she literally took off her prosthetic leg and put it up on the bar.
Nice.
That's my O-Town story, a little boy band story there.
I like the O-Town story there, Wheels. All right, you got to look at my ceiling for a second. I got to get a sip of my Sam Adams, which I don't support.
All right, take a sip of the Sam Adams, and then I've got a question for you as a guy that's been in radio forever. How do you deal with haters, Opie? Because I just got my first hater of the Wednesdays with Wheels podcast.
What did they say?
Oh, he just bashed it, said it was the worst thing ever, and that I have the worst voice for radio, and the only reason I'm in radio is because I'm in a wheelchair and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, man, you're entertaining as all hell. I'm having a very, very good time here. How do you deal with haters? At first, it's not easy. I'll be honest with you, man. If I was just getting into this, which you are, more or less, although you've been with Wease for a while, I don't know if I would do this. I don't know if I would want to put myself out there as much where people could get a hold of me 24 hours a day and try to, knock me down because their lives suck, because they have trauma from the past, or they got some pain, or they were never brave enough to go for their dream job. So you have to deal with their mental illness day in and day out. I'm not really sure I would do it because back in the day, a hater, oh my God, ask Wease, a hater. They would have to find the address of the radio station, and then they would have to actually write a letter and send it to you. And then they have to hope that you actually would open up that letter and read their hate. But now, man, they hear something on a podcast. Seconds later, they're finding your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever, your Instagram, and then just throwing their hate at you. How I handle it is, I'm not going to lie to you, it's taken a while. There was a time it was really, really bothersome, but finally I realized it's more about them than anything. And I also just simply don't go on the social media as much, or I'll post my stuff and just kind of turn it off, and that's it. I don't sit there anymore just scrolling through Twitter hour after hour. I just have found better things to do with my time, like be with my family and fish and whatnot.
I'm just sitting here listening to you talk about that, and these people with their mental illness, because this person definitely has some issues and wants to be doing what I'm doing, and I find it to be more difficult on my family than on me. When I got the hate, I was like, yes, I've made it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't listen to that crap, man. Let me ask you, what was your worst online dating experience? Give me the worst one.
Oh, there's been so many.
Come on.
So I was with a girl for just recently about a year ago now, but I was with her for about 6 months, and I can finally talk about it now.
Yeah.
But 6 months into the relationship, she kind of just woke up one morning and said, "You're too short, and I can't be with you because you can't climb a ladder."
You know she was trying to come up with something, and that's the best she could come up with, that you can't climb a ladder?
To which I responded, "Did Amazon just drop the wheelchair off at the front door?"
Right. Well, she didn't want to hurt your feelings, and she was trying to figure out an easy way out. That's just strange, man.
I mean, I think an easier way out would have just been, "I don't want to be with you anymore."
Yeah, of course.
You know what I said to her, Ope? I said, have you ever heard of a handyman?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, there's these things called handymen, and they can come over and do whatever you need them to do. Here's another great story you'll get a kick out of, Ope. Yeah. I was in the mall one day, probably in my early 20s, and this guy comes up to me, and he says to me, "Do you know why you're in a wheelchair?" And I said, "Well, I think I do. I think the doctors diagnosed me right away, but maybe they were wrong. Why don't you tell me?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're in a wheelchair because in a past life, you were mean to people in wheelchairs."
Ew.
To which I responded, "Well, in a past life, you must have been mean to ugly people because you're pretty fucking ugly."
Good for you, Wheels.
It's just amazing the way people think. Then I had one guy pray for me in the middle of a store one time.
Yeah.
Like, drop down on his knees and just pray for me.
Yeah.
Say some Hail Marys.
Well,
because he thought that would make me get up and walk. But
you don't need to walk.
No, it's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day, Ope, if somebody said to me, "Wheels, we think we have found a cure for your disability, but one of the things that could happen is you might pass away from it."
Yeah.
And my friend said to me, "Would you take that chance?" And I looked right at him and said, "No, because I'm living a good life. Like, I get great parking. Like, I'm the first one to know if a girl's got a nice butt."
Jesus, Wheels. Yeah, man, I get it. I have a soft spot for the wheelchair because me and my friend Buzzy, when we were living in Rochester, we used the wheelchair to bootleg concerts at the War Memorial.
How'd you do that?
Well, see, this is a weird story because no one can relate to this because everyone has their phones now. And when they go to a show, they just film the whole damn thing instead of watching it. But back in the day, you weren't allowed to film a concert. But my buddy Buzzy had a whole underground business going where he bootlegged concerts and sold them. Not even online. He had to put advertisements in magazines like rock magazines. But basically, he figured out he hollowed out a seat of a wheelchair, and he would smuggle in the video equipment in the wheelchair. I was the guy that he only trusted me with the tripod because he wanted to film these very professionally as well. So he didn't want any shaky cam. So I would bring in the tripod and I would get stopped at security. They're like, why do you need a tripod for the Rush show? And then I would show my binoculars, oh no, I put my binoculars on the tripod and they would let me go in. Then I would go left. And Buzzy would go right with all the equipment in a hollowed out wheelchair. We would meet in a stall in the War Memorial. And then he had another guy that had a gym bag. So then he would unload all the stuff from the wheelchair, the hollowed out seat of the wheelchair, into a gym bag. That guy would take off. Not Buzzy. Then we needed another guy to take the wheelchair because they already know that they saw Buzzy. So if he's walking with the wheelchair, that would be bad. And then someone would drop off the wheelchair and say, we're going to get it after the show. We got our friend in the seat. And he figured out the exact seats to get for these shows where it would be hard for the security guards to get them. And that would be in the middle of a row, in the middle of a section. And then when people saw that we were videotaping these shows, they would get so excited and try to help us. And he was such a pro at this that he'd put a coat around the tripod. He would put a hat on the actual camera so it looked like a person just enjoying the show. And he would film these shows. And after about an hour, he would take the tape out and give it to a runner, one of our friends actually, that Buzzy got a seat for on the other side of the War Memorial. So just in case Buzzy did get caught, he still had half the show taped. It was an incredible operation, man.
Buzzy was forward thinking.
Oh my God, yeah. He was one of the youngest. He worked for one of the TV stations up there.
Oh, okay. I got another great story you'll get a kick out of, Ope.
All right, let me grab my beer.
Have a drink. Opie's parched.
I'm not a big drinker, by the way, but it sounds like it.
Neither am I.
Because I'm enjoying this wretched Sam Adams summer ale.
What is your favorite beer, Ope?
Leinenkugel's.
Okay. I always get made fun of because I drink the girly drinks like you.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with those, right?
Like when I went to see Wease in Fort Lauderdale, I had a drink called the Electric Daisy.
I laugh because you probably had the exact drink I had. And Wease took me out. I was down there in February, right before this hell hit all of us. And he took me to a gangster, man, a gangster joint with ponytail and all sorts of people. There were a lot of gangsters in there, and those guys were drinking manly drinks. And man, if I didn't order Wheels the fruitiest drink on the menu, but man, it was tasty. It was tasty.
Yeah, I ordered the Electric Daisy, and his exact words to me were, "Bro, what are you doing?"
Yeah, so there you go. Wease is kind of like Carl. It takes a lot to embarrass Wease, but when it comes to girly drinks, when he's hanging out with his gangster friends in a gangster restaurant, that's his line, I guess.
And I said to Wease, and Paulie was there at the time, I said, it all gets you drunk the same way. Yeah. Like, I'll have the same hangover you have.
Yeah.
So listen, I got another story for you. You're going to get a kick out of this one.
Okay.
1 year for Halloween, it was right after poor Christopher Reeves, God rest his soul, was paralyzed. So for Halloween, I went to a Halloween party dressed up as Superman.
Beautiful.
I had the whole oxygen mask and the...
Oh my God, you're crazy.
The oxygen tank and
right.
and then, but what I didn't realize, was that not everybody at the party knew I was actually in a wheelchair. So I show up to the party, and they think like I'm making fun of Christopher Reeve.
Right, yes.
So I had to have my friend stand up in the middle of the party and explain he's in a wheelchair, he's okay to do this, and then I won best costume.
Of course you had to have won. That takes balls, man.
Well, this hour has flown by, but we got about 10 minutes left. I want to talk about the podcast a little bit.
Okay.
What do you like most about podcasting in terms of the difference between podcasting and actual terrestrial radio?
I get to do it all by myself. I'm not a boss anymore, Wheels. I just like the freedom of it. I like the fact that I don't have pressure anymore in my life. I've been to the top of the mountain in the radio business. I made a lot of money. I was quite famous. And sadly, Wheels, I'm here to say, and I don't want people to be like, but I wasn't that happy. I'm happier now just doing the podcast with my friends before they died. But I really, really enjoy doing this. And I remember why I got into this business all those years ago when I heard Brother Wease's voice coming from that room in the fraternity house. I just loved doing it. And somewhere along the way, I lost the love to do it. And it's back. And I don't make a lot of money. I don't have a massive audience, but I can honestly say that I don't think I've ever been happier. Well, I was happier when Carl and Vic were alive, but in general, I don't remember being this happy doing this in all those years of doing O&A. I don't regret anything, but those are the facts, my friend.
You know, I listen to your podcast all the time, and one of the things I'm struck with is when you do your podcast, a lot of your fans still ask you about O&A and all of that. Do you like that? How I mean, O&A was, how many years ago was O&A?
Well, the show broke up 6 years ago, right around now. And I'm asked about it every single day. But it's kind of cool because for the last 6 years, I got to do radio a different way. And, of course, the podcast for the last 2. So I've built up enough that people are now starting to talk about the post-O&A stuff. And that makes me very, very happy. But you know what? We did it. We had a massive show that people seem to really, really enjoy to this day. And I can respect that. I like that. But I don't have any connection to that old life anymore. And I'm fine with that.
What are some of your most memorable guests? I mean, obviously, Carl was a great guest and a great co-host, but who are some of your other great guests that you've had on?
Oh my God. I mean, I can't even turn on the TV without pointing to my kids because they don't know the O&A world. Now they're finally more than aware. My son's now 10, my daughter's going to be 8, and I try to explain to them that I used to be a big deal, Wheels. And I go, oh, you see the president of the United States? He used to, call my show on a regular basis. That's a biggie right there, Mr. Trump.
What kind of guy was Donald Trump?
Same as you see on TV. Very entertaining. Very narcissistic. Very, well, I shouldn't say very, lacks empathy. But a lot of fun, very entertaining, and I really enjoyed talking to him on the radio show. But soon as we hung up on the guy, we would basically say, we would laugh at him like, oh my God, this guy is ridiculous. He's all about himself and bragging about himself and talking about himself. But he made it very, very entertaining. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not into politics like Brother Wease. I would say I'm a moderate. A lot of people like to say I lean left because I make fun of Trump a lot because there's so much to be made fun of there. And if it passes that Biden becomes our next president, I'll be right in there making fun of Biden as well because there's a lot to make fun of there as well. But with all that said, I really enjoy the circus the last 3+ years with Trump. I love that he calls out people and has terrible names for everybody and all that, because it's so entertaining, because I love reality TV. But I don't believe in the guy as far as him being the president of the United States. I think we could do a little better in this country.
Do you ever think that he really wanted to be president?
Nah. I think he was swept away by the whole thing and realized, oh my God, this might happen. I think he loves attention. That's why every single day he tries to go viral on his social media. I mean, it's almost exhausting. His streak of going viral is absolutely amazing. He almost goes viral every single day of his presidency. But I think at first he loved the attention. He loved that people were talking about him. And then somewhere along the way, it just got real. But I don't think he went into it thinking he actually wanted to do it. But then again, I don't know, because he doesn't like to lose, So maybe he committed when he decided to run for the presidency, that I got to win this thing now, because I can't lose.
He just, sometimes when he's giving a press conference, he looks so disinterested. Like he's just like looking around like, are people paying attention to me? Like, I don't even care what answers I'm giving.
Right. I have a slight connection to Trump. I had, Trump's son on a lot too. And the guy I knew when he came into the radio station was a very different guy than you see on TV. I really liked Donald Trump Jr. And he was always inviting me to see the old man, or go hunting, or go fishing, or go out to lunch. And for whatever reason, I turned down all the invitations. But my dad ran in the same circles as Donald Trump's father way back in the day. And I'm not trying to say my dad was a real estate mogul like Trump's father was, but in Long Island City, they ran in the same circles. My dad was a real estate guy in Queens / Long Island City, and had a bunch of buildings, and did very well early on in his life. And he used to laugh, when Trump would come up and basically tell me, that he knew the old man. Not to the point where they were like buddy or anything, but they ran in the same circles.
Do you think he's as rich as he says he is?
I don't know. The hell is that? You almost had a perfect podcast, Wheels. What happened to you?
Well, I'm just asking because he doesn't want to release his. You said your dad ran with the old man, so I was wondering maybe he had a little inside information.
I'm just kidding with you. Honestly, I think the reason why he doesn't want anyone to see his taxes is because there's some things in there. That's why. I don't know if it's about him not being as rich as he's telling everybody. I think there's just some things.
You have a great ceiling, by the way, Ope.
I'm having another sip of the Sam Adams Summer Ale Citrus Wheat Ale. I'm mad. Right. I got to figure out who brought this stupid beer to my house. We don't support Sam Adams in this house.
What do you have against Sam Adams?
I was waiting for you to ask that, Wheels. I was throwing softballs up the middle for you.
What do you have against Sam Adams?
He was the sponsor of the famous Sex for Sam thing that me and Anthony did.
Oh, yes.
Actually, I don't mind Jim Cook. I mean, he used to be a decent friend of mine. He had a beer. I forgot which one it was, but he flew me and Anthony and a bunch of other radio shows down to Turks and Caicos for the big promotion for the beer at the time, and he loved us. And we did this bit back in the day called Sex for Sam, where we had a bunch of couples, have sex all over New York City. Wheels. Can you imagine that radio shows actually did this type of thing? And it was I
can't imagine. It wouldn't happen nowadays.
Yeah, and it was a point system, and if you do it at I was going to say the toy store. Oh my god, people are going to come out of the woodwork.
That would be bad.
Well, it actually happened, Wheels. I'm sorry to say, but there's a whole bunch of places on the list, and so these couples would try to get as many points as possible by having sex at all these crazy landmarks all around New York. And Sam Adams and Jim Cook, they loved the promotion, and they were the big sponsors. And on the third 3 years they let us do this. What happened was a couple had, maybe they did, I wasn't there, Wheels, but they might have had sex in the vestibule of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Wow, and that's I've heard that story, and that's the one that got you got in big trouble for that, right?
You think? I've been trying to get my career back together ever since. And they also did it in the, the dirtiest of holes, Wheels.
Oh, boy.
So what happened was we got fired, and we had to sit. Well, we didn't get fired. They paid out our contract, and we had to sit out for 2 years, 3 months, and do nothing. And there was no social media back then, which made it really frustrating. But Jim Cook, we were pretty close. He sponsored a lot of our stuff. He like I said, he brought us on that trip to Turks and Caicos, and he invited us up to the brewery in Boston many times for these big festivals that he threw. And he called me one day. He's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Hey, Jim." Oh my God, I felt so bad because on the front pages of all the Boston papers, all the bartenders and bar owners were just pouring Sam Adams down the drain. They were pissed because Boston might be a bit of a religious city. And Jim Cook, he's whispering because he's obviously in the middle of some giant meeting as they're trying to figure out what to do. And he goes, "Oh, I love you." I go, "Yeah, man, I know, Jim." And I apologize to him. Like, I didn't, expect this to get out of hand. Because our intentions were not for a couple to have sex at St. Patrick's Cathedral that day. But it happened. And then I had to take some responsibility. And I'm like, "I'm really sorry, Jim." And he's like, "Look, you're going to hear some things in the coming days. Just know this. I love you, but I got to save my own ass." He was really scared. And I go, "I understand, Jim." And he hung up, and Wheels, I never talked to him again.
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of sad, because we did some great things together, and he's a really good guy. But he basically, he was basically saying goodbye to me with love. With love, he wasn't mad. He understood how much money I brought in for that company, or me and Anthony, I should say. But unfortunately, we got caught, in a bad situation, and he took it like a man, and he basically said goodbye to me like a man, and that was it, man. We hung up, and I never talked to him again. One day I was I'm sorry if I'm babbling, but
no, go ahead.
Okay, one day I was in Manhattan. I think my wife was in the car. We were driving maybe to Long Island. We're on the east side for the people that know New York City, heading toward the tunnel, the bridge, the 59th Street Bridge. And all of a sudden we're stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. The traffic's barely moving where people are walking faster than the cars. And I go to my wife was there. I go, "Oh my God, there's Jim Cook in a business suit with another guy. They're obviously having some kind of meeting that they're walking to." And I rolled down the window wheels. I leaned my head out and I went, "Nah." And I just let it be. And I rolled the window back up, and I never shouted to Jim Cook. I wish I did, to be honest with you, but
I mean, he probably would have liked to at least, here's the thing. I can't believe he wouldn't have reached out to you just as a friend afterwards, and because he seemed like he really liked you as a person. So that surprises me.
Well, he called me. That was him reaching.
Well, no, but after that, you know what I mean?
I'm sure. Look, let's be honest. He's a nice guy. I'm sure he was livid, and I almost ruined everything, or me and Anthony, I should say, in the radio show. So I'm sure he wanted to put some distance between us after that.
At any time in your career, I'm sure there were station directors that were telling you to sort of push the limits, right? Because it brought in ratings. But then at the same point, when you push those limits, then they want to distance themselves from you when you go too far. So how frustrating is that?
Well, it was an understanding between me and Anthony, especially in the golden age of this shock jock radio, and the bosses. It was a weird little tug of war. I mean, we had a bunch of PDs over the years that didn't really get us or understand what me and Anthony were about. But in general, even though I've been fired dramatically a bunch of times, we really did understand the game until we got in over our head. And basically, we would get in trouble with all sorts of minority groups. One time we did a gay bit up in Boston, and I have love for the community. But we're also there trying to entertain people, and we did this bit, and they were so freaking mad. And all of a sudden they wanted to meet with me and Anthony and the general manager, and behind closed doors, they're giving us pamphlets and books to read and blah, blah, blah. And me and Anthony played our parts. We're like, we're sorry. And then the GM was scolding us in front of the gay group. And they wanted to have another meeting after we read these books. And my GM at that point said, no. They understand. They heard you. They've learned their lessons. I think that's enough. And we all shook hands. And then I quickly washed my hands. Just kidding, Wheels. A little humor. And then
I was laughing. Okay. I was laughing.
Just kidding, man.
Well, you wash your hands so much nowadays, your hands are raw.
Oh, no kidding. So then they leave. And what does my GM say? You know, he's there playing his part, scolding us in front of these people. He's like, okay, boys, you know, you obviously did nothing wrong, so go right back into that studio and continue doing exactly what you're doing. That played out so many times over the years. Everyone understood. When we got fired for Sex for Sam, we were number one with men up and down the East Coast. We're talking number one in Cleveland. We had something like a 40-something share in Cleveland. We were number one in New York. We were number one in Boston. We were number one in Philly. I'm not bragging. I'm getting to a point. We were number one in Washington and many other places. I think Buffalo was on that list. And we do the Sex for Sam. And I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to fire us. You know, you don't just throw away a number one show like that. We were making the big bosses like just stupid money. And I always understood the game. But what I didn't understand at the time was the fact that radio stations were now being swallowed up by big corporations. So if a radio show messed up, it wasn't that they were just effing with the actual radio station or the radio division. You could screw over the entire company. And at the time, it was CBS. They owned movie studios. They owned Blockbuster. They owned all these other entities. And that's why we got fired. I didn't understand that the game got way, way bigger than just us and our stupid radio show. So that's why they ended up firing me and Anthony back in 2002, even though we had massive, massive ratings up and down the East Coast and in other cities.
I always tell people, Open, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this, and if you don't like what's on the radio, like, change the dial.
Yeah, but then what are they going to complain about? Like this cancel culture, I think everyone is part of a tribe now, and you're just trying to get points for your tribe. But I don't think in the end they truly give a shit if Jimmy Kimmel wore blackface or Howard Stern wore blackface all those years ago. I really don't believe that whatsoever. But I think I think people just want to complain just for the complaining sake.
Yeah, just to say they're doing something, right?
I think just to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
we live in a world where there are a lot of pain in the asses. That's why I hide out and don't see many people. I'm pretty much becoming a recluse.
So, Ope, I have one more question for you.
Of course, here it is.
As an I don't think you know where I'm going with this one. I think I'm going to shock you.
Okay, good. Let's go.
As an up-and-coming, new to, I don't want to say up-and-coming because the 5 people that listen to my podcast, I don't make a dent in the podcast world. But could you, as someone that's new to the game, could you give me some advice?
Oh, that's really nice of you, Wheels. I think you're already doing it, to be honest with you. The thing I learned from Brother Wease, and I pass along to as many people as I can, is to simply be yourself, because the listener, they know when you're not being genuine, and they know when you're not being yourself, and you're doing it, man. You're the same guy on mic and off mic. So I think that's a very important bit of advice for somebody. But you're already there. You're already just being yourself.
I appreciate it. Oh,
you also love your poker?
Can I tell you why I love poker? It's because I'm a very competitive person.
Yes.
And being in the wheelchair, I wasn't able to play high school sports, although I am sort of the Michael Phelps of disabled sports.
Nice.
I did some track and field events, but poker is one of those things where I'm able to be competitive at a table and my disability doesn't come into it at all.
Beautiful. Oh, that makes sense.
Right?
What doesn't make sense is you referenced Michael Phelps and then said track and field.
Well, I did swimming too, but I was better.
All right. I wasn't sure if they were hitting you with the fire hose as you're, doing the 100-yard dash. I'm like, what is he talking about?
No, I was sort of like to use another reference, I was sort of like the Usain Bolt of short distances.
Beautiful.
Except I went at a turtle's pace.
Nice. You never did that wheelchair basketball? One of my good friends, I lost touch with him, unfortunately, my friend Eddie, who was on Big Brother. Quick funny story, Big Brother was on when me and Anthony were...
Hey, man, you know Eddie? I know Eddie.
Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine, although we've lost touch in the last few years. But back in the day, when me and Anthony had that massive radio show, we decided to make Eddie win Big Brother. It's a fact. And he thanks me to this day because we got all our fans to vote for Eddie, who had one leg. He had cancer when he was 12 years old, and they decided to take his leg to save his life. And unfortunately for Eddie, they took his leg all the way up almost to his hip, which makes it really hard to get around on a fake leg, which he does when he's got a wedding or something. But in general, man, he's got giant hands, and he could get around faster on crutches than pretty much anyone I know. And he was like 6'4", an athlete. And he played that competitive wheelchair basketball, and I went and saw him a few times, and it was simply amazing, man. These guys would be diving out of their chairs, and the chairs would be flipping, over. I thought it would be some wheelchair game where everyone's just slowly going up the court trying to shoot the basket, but these guys really, really took it seriously and were incredibly competitive.
So, it's so funny because I actually competed against Eddie in those same Olympics that I was talking to you about.
Oh, okay.
So I know Eddie personally as well, and what a guy he was, and he did quite well with the ladies too, from what I remember.
Oh, good looking guy, which pissed me off. I got both legs, both arms. I'm like, I'm gonna get the pick of the litter here, and there's Eddie and his crutches, and they would just be drooling when they saw this guy.
Opie, this was fun, my friend.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. I'm going to send you a Wednesdays with Wheels. What would you like? Would you rather have a hat or a T-shirt?
Oh, beautiful. I want a T-shirt.
You want the T-shirt? All right, I'll send you send me your address, and I'll send you a T-shirt.
I will, and sneak in one of those handicap passes.
Listen, I can't do that. That's how I get the girls, Ope.
No, you tell them you lost yours. You send me one, and then you go get another one. What are you, a rookie?
I was going to end this, but I got to tell you this story because it's so funny.
Okay, go ahead.
Brother Wease has himself a handicap parking pass now.
Yeah.
But he doesn't use it.
Why?
Because he doesn't want people to see him using the handicap parking sticker. But when I was in Florida, he was okay to use it because I was with him.
That's my point.
So we were going out to the car one day, and he says, oh, shit. He says, I forgot the handicap parking sticker.
Yeah.
So we go back upstairs to get it, and we're in the elevator talking about it. And he says to the girl in the elevator, he says, I have to go get the handicap parking sticker. My friend forgot it.
That's great.
Meanwhile, he's the one that wanted it.
Yeah. And he fights for that handicap spot at his building down there in Florida. You want to hear a good episode of my podcast. It was right after the Super Bowl, I guess, officially. But we were coming home from a Super Bowl party, and I decided to just do a podcast in the car. And, we almost got in an accident. And then we get to his garage, and he's so mad that the only other person with the handicap sticker grabbed his spot. And then he's called her the C word. And me and Doreen are like, oh, my God, what's wrong with you? But he was so mad.
I listened to that podcast, and it was I'm sitting in my bedroom listening to it, and I'm just visualizing him doing that.
Oh, I loved every second of it, and me and Doreen were laughing ourselves sick.
He's a great guy, and he's definitely changed my life. And Opie, thank you so much for doing this. I know there's a million other things you could have been doing, so I so much appreciate it. I really do.
I didn't think I had a choice.
No?
The wheelchair. I'm like, I can't say no to a guy that's in a wheelchair.
Oh, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't.
No, Wheels, come on. People are asking me to be on their podcast all the time, and honestly, I pretty much don't do anyone's podcast, but I like you a lot. I think you're I don't know, man. I really believe you're an inspiration, and that's not well, it's sort of because you're in a wheelchair, but it's showing people to just live their lives. My God. And you're entertaining, you're funny, and you ask the right questions, and you add a lot to the conversation. And a little known fact, I listen to you on Brother Wease almost every morning. I still listen to Wease almost every morning on the iHeart app. And you more than hold your own, my brother.
Thank you so much. And he is now. I'm going to give him a little plug. He's now number one in the market again. So kudos to Brother Wease.
Nice.
For such a great career. I will say this real quick. I was listening to your podcast, and you were saying and you and I've talked about this off air, so I don't have a problem bringing it up here. But you were saying on your podcast that every douchebag in America now has a podcast.
Yeah.
And I happened to call Brother Wease when you were in Florida.
Yeah.
And I was talking to you, and I said, well, I'm going to be one of those douchebags with a podcast.
And they all suck. It drives me nuts. You can't turn on the TV without someone promoting their podcast. And I'm like, of course you got a podcast. Of course. Because this is so easy to do, isn't it? Go screw.
It's not easy to do at all.
All right, listen, I got to go.
It really is the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
I think I lost Joe. But anyway.
I'm right here, but I'm falling asleep at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're going.
I'm kidding.
Leave it.
I'm just messing with you, brother. Thank you so
We're
much.
Out of here. I love you. Thank you for doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another episode of Wednesdays with Wheels. Love you all. See you soon.
All right, Wheels. Love you too, brother.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Stupid Sam Adams. Boo, 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 boo. Radio. Boo, 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 boo. Boom, 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 boom. Boo, 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 boo.